In Maryland, Governor Larry Hogan today announced that the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine has begun shipping into the state.
Yeah, Adam, that vaccine was approved by the FDA Friday and will more than double the doses already being distributed from Pfizer. Here's Scott Broom in Maryland.
Maryland Governor Larry Hogan said now that the Moderna vaccine is shipping, enough doses will have been distributed to vaccinate approximately 90% of the state's frontline hospital staff by the end of this week. The remaining frontline hospital staff in Maryland will be covered by next week's allocations from Moderna, the state estimated. Meanwhile, extremely vulnerable residents of long-term care facilities and nursing homes will begin being vaccinated Wednesday, according to state authorities and CVS Health, which is administering the vaccine. In Maryland, nearly 109,000 patients will be vaccinated in nearly 1,800 skilled nursing and assisted living facilities, according to CVS, which is adding at least 15,000 employees nationwide to bring the vaccine into nursing homes and do the vaccinations on site. CVS's medical director says the fast pace does not mean there have been shortcuts.
With Operation Warp Speed and as well as other governments across the globe, they committed to buying the vaccine as quickly as possible once it was authorized or approved. And so that de-risked the process for manufacturers and allowed them to scale up production much quicker, which is why right after authorization, we'll have vaccines available.
WUSA 9 has reached out to health authorities in Virginia and the district to see how the Moderna shipments may affect vaccine availability in those jurisdictions. We have not received new information yet. According to Governor Hogan in Maryland, the new shipments released today from Moderna will add up to 104,300 doses. That's in addition to the nearly 87,000 doses shipped by Pfizer since early last week, for a total of 191,075 doses now sent to the state. In Maryland's case, these shipments from Moderna today will more than double the supply of vaccine in this state, enough to vaccinate all frontline healthcare workers by the new year and some nursing home residents by Christmas Day. Scott Broom, WUSA 9.